Hello, watchers of Fable Table. We're here with the first Fable Trauma podcast where we review the latest in, RPG stuff. Just pretty much anything we can think of that we think looks cool and tell you what we think about it. And also other things and updates on our own Twitch channel and Discord server. Here I am with me, Bomb Jr., and my co-host, Bork.
Hey.
And today we're going to be discussing just a few things that we found over the past few months, and also some other of our more selfish endeavors that you may or may not give a fuck about, but we're going to talk about it anyway because it's our podcast, damn it.
Yes, we'll also include a couple opportunities for some of our Fable Table Discord members to get in on some of the Fable Table action. And we'll talk about that a little bit later.
The saucy campy action. Yes, but first we're going to start off with 5e, D&D, the staple game of our age, and the one that has ultimately revived the hobby of role-playing in general, even for other systems, because some people are still grognards before they even know it, wanting to have a little bit more complexity. Excuse me, but we're going to be talking about good old 5e today. That's not actually that old. And I found a few things, like the one that really interests me was the Humblewood campaign setting. And on the outside you would think, oh shit, like this is a furry campaign setting for 5e, and just instantly just light it on fire, kerosene and all. Birds, yes. Lots of birds, and generally with birds there's a lot of shit. So I'm
going to run a birdemic themed campaign using the Humblewood setting. So yeah, let me see on the Discord what kind of interest there is for the birdemic campaign.
Yep, it'll be but, no, seriously. But this looks interesting to me because while I read it, it said it sounded a little bit presumptuous at first, but then as I started to read more and more, I was like, this is one of those settings where it presents itself as though it was taking itself seriously, but is actually on the inside, like once you, so to speak, take off the layer of the outside and get to the creamy center, like an Oreo. It's actually kind of...
Like an Oreo?
Yeah, like an Oreo or similar knockoff cookie that you stick in your mouth.
Think of a lot of other things that have a creamy center that sounds like you're referring to.
Like an undercooked pancake from IHOP that you had the gracious glory of witnessing and tasting in your mouth.
Sure. Whatever.
But I need to find this campaign setting. I knew that I had it somewhere. I am completely unorganized right now because this is a podcast and I don't need to be that organized. But either way, a couple of the races that you're even allowed to play are just birds. However, they do come in their own flavorful sort of sub-races, so you know we're going to have some of that good old D&D racism. Anybody can appreciate that.
But it's okay because it's bird racism. So, it's not real.
And of course the crows, the crow sub-race, I can't remember exactly what they were called at the moment, but it was like Corvoxus or something like that. I can't seem to find the PDF at the moment. It's just really strange. But they're like you remember like from Pathfinder the Tengu? Even from 5e,
Kenku from 5e.
Yes, Kenku. That's what I was trying to think of.
Yep.
I'm a Pathfinder grognard. But, you know, they have that, they're a thief, they're ambitious, although the crow people in Humblewood are a bit more, like, overtly evil, it seems, which honestly, for me, makes me want to play them more because I just like playing those races that break the mold. I mean, sure, call me a Drizzt fan, but I don't care. You can only be so original, you know.
I'm so original, that's why I'm just like everyone else.
That's my original idea. Ah, here it is. I have found it. The PDF version. Oh, now it is 4, apparently. It was 3 earlier. But now it went up to 4. Live on Kickstarter.
You can get the Humblewood playtest V4 for absolutely free on the deckofmanythings.com, which also has many other things, obviously. Otherwise, they would probably been sued at this point for false advertising.
There's not many things on this website. You lie. But other than that,
Shout out to deckofmany.com. Go support their stuff. They got cool stuff. Also know they have like holographic spell cards. They have like the spell animated on the card and
Oh, they
a
got
bunch of other stuff there too. So go check them out.
yes.
If you got money to spend and you're looking to spend it on D&D stuff,
Both
this
for
is a
game
good place to do it.
and players. Not just that. You got Deck of Many Monsters for DMs if you have a hard time coming up with random encounters because you're tired of just flipping to a page and your level 5 adventurers get caught in a deadly battle with a adult golden dragon because you decided to randomly open a page in your monster manual. Well, now you don't have to anymore because now you can organize them with the Deck of Many Monsters 4 and also organize maybe just some conditions in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like tetanus, I believe, is one of them.
Wow. Alright.
I mean, you know, adventurers who can kill dragons and get pissed off and body slam minotaurs and things like that. It's surprising when they fall to something like accidental stepping upon a rusty nail and they just happen to only take non-spellcaster classes, which are some of the funniest fucking parties I've ever seen, is parties that have no casters in a traditional fantasy setting. So they're like a sword and... It makes it automatically more like a sword and sorcery kind of dealio, you know, like... what would be an example? I guess He-Man, but after a while his sword could just shoot lasers.
So, like He-Man, but with a twist of Legend of Zelda.
Right.
From when the original one, he used to shoot that laser sword out of his sword. But then if you took damage, you couldn't do it anymore.
Which was really weird. It's like, I don't understand why the sword was based on his link, but whatever. That would have been also kind of unfair because it was supposed to be a fantasy game and not just a shooter, but whatever. That's 80s video games for you. Swords that shoot lasers. So the next topic that we were going to go on to, you want to check out the rest of the races on Humblewood, just go and get it. But for now, we're going to move on to Starfinder, one of my favoriteest of all time now RPGs, even though it's only like, what, a year or two old, something like that? I think it came out in 18.
Yep. And we've been playing a campaign using Starfinder since it came out, called Eleanor Enterprises.
Yes, which you
And
would
there'll
have...
be a new episode of which this Sunday on the Fable Table Twitch channel. So be sure to check that out.
Yeah, tomorrow at, starting between 7 and 8. We don't really have a set starting time because, well, we like to dick around. But who doesn't? I mean, and that shows that we're actually friends because we can dick around and not just be like, let's go to the game, guys. Let's do it. Although sometimes I have tried to be like, shut the fuck up. Let's do it.
Yep.
So,
Sidetracks are often the case here. Digressing.
I would say that's kind of the thing with any tabletop RPG that's not like, that you're not paying like $40 a month to be a part of.
Yes. And if you like getting sidetracked during your D&D campaigns, we have more of it than you can handle on Fable table games.
Yes, because as we like to say, we are the worst actual play stream ever. But there's a bit of tastefulness in things that are bad, especially with movies. Trauma movies are some of my favorite, and I would really rather watch Toxic Avenger than Iron Man. I don't give a damn about his suit.
I just watch whatever sounds good at the time, man.
Whatever, man. Where is the playtest materials we're talking about? Ah, here it is. So, new material for Starfinder. That would be 3 new classes. One of which now finally being a goddamn charisma-based caster that I was surprised they didn't start off with. And these classes are the Biohacker, the Vanguard, and the Witchwarper. So I'm going to take a look at the Biohacker. Actually, I believe Joey was already playing a Biohacker. Oh no, he multi-classed into it, so he's only got a couple levels of that. But the Biohacker is like... To me, they kind of seem like a replacement for an alchemist a little bit. Because they're like more of a chemical guy, except they don't have like... It's a spell, but it's not spells, you know, like the alchemist from Pathfinder had, which... I believe you said you were going to be playing an alchemist here soon.
Yep.
In one of our upcoming campaigns, which will be taking place as part of sort of an offshoot from one of the Pathfinder adventures, but we will talk more on that later when they're closing statements. As for now, if you like characters who can dish out damage as well as debilitating conditions, and also heal their allies by shooting them in the ass with darts, then Biohacker's for you. They have all kinds of abilities like theorems and biohacker methods that allow them to pretty much alter their opponent's neurology or physiology, or even down at like a molecular level. It really just depends on which of their scientific fields of study they wish to specialize in. Like any other class in Starfinder, it's got its specializations, other than Technomancer, which I thought was weird, but also understand. Because you've seen what a Technomancer can do. And the next one was the Vanguard, which is really fucking weird, but was the class that I was hoping for. Because you know me, man, I like to punch. I like characters who can just be like, why don't you have any weapons? And then just immediately rape them.
Indeed.
Love it.
One of the things that Starfinder does pretty well is that a lot of sci-fi settings kind of have trouble incorporating more physical and melee-based classes into their meta because the presence of laser guns is so high that usually melee classes oftentimes end up being reskins of the Jedi.
I know. And people say that about Solarian, but I don't feel that way at all.
That being said, I think that Starfinder's strength is that it has a decent variety of melee classes that don't necessarily feel like Star Wars ripoffs and seem viable alongside any of the other classes within its setting.
And the fact that like the main way to generate ability scores in Starfinder is usually like just start at 10 and then have 10 points in 1-for-1, which I actually like. Sure, you don't get a whole bunch to start off with, but when you finally get those ability scores, they matter. Because like in 5e, what is it? You get to pick 2 ability scores and raise them by 2 or something like that.
Yep.
But no, in Starfinder you get to pick 4 and raise them by 2 if they're below 17. Which is great.
I think in 5e it's you can pick 1 and raise it by 2, or 2 and raise them by 1.
That's true. Which I mean is still better than like Pathfinder 3.5 is at 1 point at 4.
But you also gotta keep in mind too that 5e you're not having as nearly as high rolls as you're having in Pathfinder or Starfinder either.
No. But you don't need to. I mean, you can, as long as it gets the point across and the action resolution is there without being, taking forever, because that's the only thing. But Starfinder still has like that complexity and the like different situations of Pathfinder, but without like obscurity. Like usually, like there's different conditions, but they usually do like about the same thing. It's like, oh, you're shaking, -2 to this. It's usually just like in -2 increments.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And also, you don't have to like stack a whole bunch of shit on top of each other because weapons just do more damage the more levels you get up. And some classes, of course, like the Vanguard, which is basically the fucking space monk. They're like that. They're like the molecular space monk. Their unarmed strike, which I believe was called. Here, let me scroll up to that shot. It was like disintegrating strike or something like that. Entropic strike. That's what it was. So pretty much they can punch you and the molecules that are in your face whilst also punching the outside of your face. So it's like Hokuto no Ken pretty much. It's insane. They can deal bludgeoning or acid damage with this attack or both at the same fucking time. So yeah, it's fucking
Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, dude. It's Fist of the North Star, definitely shit, and it's definitely my newest favorite class. And I think it's actually pretty balanced because while their strike does start out pretty low at a D3, it steadily goes up. Like at 3rd, it goes up to D4, which whoop-de-doo, it's a 4 bonus. But the weird thing about the Vanguard is that they are not like the Monk in that they don't really need any mental stats, and they wear armor. Like, they can wear light armor and heavy armor, which I think is very strange for an unarmed kind of character, but still also kind of cool. Like, maybe he's more of a gladiator. And the Entropic Strike can use, like, you can be a strength or a melee build, because it doesn't matter which is higher. You're not going to be able to add your strength mod until level 10 anyway, because the Entropic Strike adds your con as a bonus damage, which I guess makes sense. Because you're tougher. Which I think they have a bit more health. Yeah, they have the most health. So they're a punching tank. And they're the only class that starts out proficient with the new shields, which I think is fucking weird. You would think that in such an advanced setting they'd be like, oh shit, here's a car door, I'm gonna use it like a shield. Like they do that in movies all the time. But nope, Soldier's not proficient with shields, just Vanguard, although Soldier gets a fucking bonus feat every other level. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
What's your favorite class in Starfinder? Would you say it would be the Mystic now? Since I mean, that's the only one you... Well, not the only one you played.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to decide, per se.
Narrow it down.
But I like playing the Mystic because you can kind of do a little bit of everything. If you want to, there's one beset path, but like with playing the Akashic Mystic, there's a lot of versatility to the build, and I just kind of like how a lot of times you get a class like a Mystic, which you might see as almost like an equivalent to the Cleric, or the closest thing to a Cleric you would get in the Starfinder setting. In Clerics, typically, they get the reputation for being like a healer with nothing else to do, but 5e, I think, has done a lot to remedy that, and I think Mystic is really cool because not only are you a very good healer, but with moves like Mind Thrust.
Shit, you're like the only healer until Biohacker came out.
Yep. But with spells like Mind Thrust as well, it makes it a lot more versatile in combat as well, so you're never like packed into a corner because you don't have whatever enough strength to fight.
And if mind Thrust doesn't work, you always just bust out the Force Disc.
Yep, you got Force spells, and you're not too bad with weapons as well, so you can, shoot them with guns and stuff too. It all just depends on how you want to build it. You can make him a jack of all trades or specialize it in whatever area you want to.
And if your Dungeon Master is nice like me and likes Dreamscard stuff, you can use the new Starfinder, or relatively new Starfinder Psionic stuff, which lets you have the Mind Blade, which I believe goes very well with the Mystic because of their Because if you take the Soul Knife archetype, you can take that and use your wisdom instead for your attacks and damage with the Mind Blade. So you could just be like, okay, I'm gonna have like maybe like just 14 dex and then no strength or anything like that, and then just have like 18 fucking missed fucking wisdom, and be able to just use your Mind Blade using just your senses as a psychic swordsman, but also being a mystic and a healer, which I think would be fucking awesome. But Mind Blade is fucking, anybody can fucking take it as long as you have, I think, enough wisdom.
Cool.
But the Vanguard, going back to that, is based on Khan. So he's kind of like, almost a little bit like the Kineticist, but he doesn't really have burn. He just has entropy pool, which will increase the more he gets hit. So actually, as a Vanguard, you want to get in there and tank. Like, even if you're a dex-based Vanguard, you still want to use that to get up and get in position so that you can get damage and, you know, hopefully mitigate it, because they have a couple abilities to mitigate just damage to them, like flatten bullets. They decay the bullet with some kind of atomic force before the bullet even lands to them, and they turn them into pennies.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely insane, but also balanced in its own kind of way. But we have yet to really see how truly balanced it is, because the one character that we have witnessed and played with it in our Eleanor Enterprise game was like level 5 or something like that.
Yep.
5, 6. That was about the level that you guys were. And while he was fucking strong, we still haven't yet to see the full scope of their abilities. Which the most mysterious one to me, because I have yet to see actually anybody really play it, is the Witch Warper. Which, like I said earlier, is the charisma-based caster and the first one for Starfinder. And I believe they can warp the terrain around them, so they're a bit like a control. And they're like a geomancer from Final Fantasy Tactics. They just be like, "Fuck you! You don't get to stand there anymore." So I guess they're like a space sorcerer. I don't know. They're like a reality warping. They're like Doctor Strange. The Doctor Strange class, but with charisma instead.
That sounds really weird.
It does sound really weird, but at the same time, I can appreciate a player who can actually manage to play charisma-based casters, but aren't just using their charisma to, like, burn my force of personality to blast you in the face. Who needs bluff?
My personality has created this fireball.
That is your... It's the most shallow personality, though. Just a murderer. A murderer with high charisma.
Yep.
It's just Ted... It's the Ted Bundy class.
Yep.
Just blast everything and eat them. But some of their abilities, like their first ability and the only one they get, which it doesn't seem very powerful at first, but it gradually goes up, but also counterbalanced by the fact that they have fucking pretty much the same spell list as a Technomancer, so they have just as much damage potential. But they have the Infinite Worlds ability. So they ultimately have less utility than the Technomancer, but they have more, like, control, like I said. With the Infinite Worlds, they can change their terrain, I think at first level it's just, like, difficult terrain, which isn't really all that great, unless if your party has, like, really good team cooperation and shit like that. Because some players will just... I've seen so many players who will just be like, I'm a fighter, so I'm gonna run in and fucking hit them.
Well, I think hopefully at first level you're not doing anything too challenging anyway, so at least for the low levels it'll be viable.
Yeah, unless you just have a really good healer. Like, I've seen some players that just that can manage to keep up a reckless player who just keeps taking damage. Like, of course, I'm the barbarian, I'm not gonna wear any armor. What's your dexterity? 10.
I like how Fucking Warlocks very oftentimes keeps Lefty up and going.
Well, I mean, let's be real. Lefty is pretty reckless. But he's the captain, so he has to inspire everybody with his glorious charges.
And glorious fall.
Glorious falling on his face in his own blood.
Yes. And luckily that we have other more pragmatic members of the party. So, because if we all fought like that, we would probably be all dead by now.
I remember you guys almost died a couple of times, but through strategy and perseverance, it still happened. Somehow, some way. So, I believe you wanted to talk about something else, like something about movies? Like something with the Discord server?
Yep.
I've had coffee and a smokety smoke, so it's getting late, but we're still gonna finish this, goddammit.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to talk about some upcoming opportunities for people on the Discord to get involved. First off, as Chris was alluding to, we're going to be starting a thing called Movie Night, where we will have
No popcorn, sorry.
myself and Bomb and several other people gather up on one of the voice channels. We're going to have a group viewing party of a movie, and it'll be
Very bad.
sort of like a live mystery science theater experience where we will all get to basically shit on some kind of ridiculous movie, and it will basically be an exclusive for our Discord members. So the only people who will get to hear it will be the people who are participating,
In which will be people who will get the link to the program that we will use to share the movie, which will be rab.it, R-A-B-B.it, Rabbit.
Indeed, is a private viewing party just exclusively for our Discord members.
And maybe Twitch watchers.
We will be doing this very every so often. And our first movie that we will be watching is Night of the Demons. So it is an extremely perverse and over-the-top horror movie. So if you are into that sort of thing and not squeamish at all, and you like to talk over movies, bad movies in particular,
And shit all over them with your ravenous opinions.
you can join me and Bomb Jr. The date is to be announced,
Yeah, because
but it'll be sometime within the next 2 weeks.
Because anybody who's watched our streams knows that we're kind of random with our stuff, but we have plenty of stuff, and we still have the flagship stream every Sunday.
Indeed.
So we'll not be letting anybody down with that. Tomorrow, which will be happening again between 7 and 8, because we don't give a shit.
Indeed. And then something that is a little less niche, I guess. There's a new version of the D&D 5e starter set out that includes, it's basically a Stranger Things themed starter set.
What?
And you get to play through an adventure much like Lost Mine at Phandelver, but obviously it is set in the Stranger Things universe, and the characters you get to play as are the kids from the TV series.
Even fucking...
Even Dustin, the kid with the weird teeth.
Oh no, I was thinking the girl. What was her name?
Oh.
Like 11? Yeah.
Yeah,
11.
I do believe you can play as 11.
What the fuck
I'm
is
not
her
entirely
class?
sure.
Have you read any of the didn't it, you said it had pre-made character? I imagine it has pre-made character sheets if you play the children.
Yes. I don't have it all in front of me at the moment, but my point is that we, in another Discord exclusive here within in the near future, we will be playing as a one-shot the
Yes.
D&D Stranger Things starter set.
But we might be giving it our own little twist, such as renaming the characters. Because I don't really like prefabs, but I will do it for a one shot as long as I don't have to like actually play a specific character. Like I'll use the prefab, but I feel like I wouldn't be able to get into it if it wasn't my own character as much.
The official date will be announced once we get all of the players interested, coordinated on a date that we want to play. When we do, we will be playing it as a one-shot or be attempting to. So,
Maybe even a two-shot if it needs to be, if everybody really wants to finish it, which I would hope that we finish it if it's supposed to be in the format of a one-shot. But maybe if we went a little longer with the stream, we might be able to really pump it out.
so
You have a day off or something.
we will be seeing who would be interested in playing here soon on the Discord. We will be getting some preliminary applications.
Which is not very demanding. Other than that, you show the hell up.
Yep.
Because we need... how many players does it need?
It's like 4, I think.
4? Okay, that's a good number. Because, I mean, it would be... And it's shit, even if, like, suppose, like, DM could just run one if we only had 3.
Mm-hmm.
Just run one of the characters. Because if it's for a 4-character party, then
Yep.
it's just... You wouldn't even need that many people to sign up.
Mm-hmm. And that being said, if you are a dungeon master or a game master and you want to run whatever system, setting, campaign idea that you have, we are looking for you so that we can accommodate our ever-growing player base into more campaigns. If we can start seeing some consistent campaigns that get going and running on a weekly basis, we may even consider you to be a weekly stream on the Fable Table Twitch channel.
Or maybe an alternate one, because we will probably have more than one channel if we get more,
Depending on the time that you run and all that kind of good stuff.
or even post some of your recorded episodes on our upcoming, and soon to probably be filled with some of these podcast recordings, the Fable Table or Fable Trauma YouTube channel.
We just want to make sure that they are going to be consistent weekly games before we put them on.
Right. We would not want anything to, although I would imagine that somebody might, a campaign might have to drop sooner than expected, but
Alright.
if it is a stream, then it'll only be on there for so long.
So, do you have anything else to say before we close this?
Well, I'm getting really sick and tired of people shitting on 5e. That's what I'm gonna say. Because I'll admit it, at first, I was a bit of a grognard and was like, but it's oversimplified. And then I realized that you can't be oversimplified as long as you're getting to the point and you can have the same kind of action resolution. Because while, yes, in Pathfinder you have all the other... Well, and also because we use all the crazy, like, Dreamscarred rules, like, ooh, martial maneuvers, fucking weeaboo fighting magic, and fucking psionic powers. It lets you deal 2d6 extra damage just by virtue of having a feat.
Yep.
Anytime you want.
Yep.
But I realize now that I've gotten past the point where numbers are the main draw, because we played Savage Worlds, and like a high roll on Savage Worlds is 20 points of damage, which isn't a lot for our characters like at level 8 in Starfinder and Pathfinder.
Yep.
So no matter what game you play, Fable Table Games is here to accommodate you and help you advertise your campaign and your podcast, stream, whatever else we're willing to help you with, if you feel like you need it.
Although I don't know how much help will actually be, but damn it, we're gonna try.
Yep.
So, that has been our first Fable Trauma podcast.
We shall see you all tomorrow for Eleanor Enterprises once again. Thanks for tuning in. This is Bomb Jr. and Bork Laser from Fable Table Games signing off.